So I'm going to talk a little bit, if you'll stay with me, about some of the great comedians of my generation and the generation before, but I grew up with a lot of them. People say, well, Benny Hill was a terrible gag writer. He didn't write gags, he remembered jokes. He was a really smart-looking guy with his thick, wavy hair. And he really was, had a lovely face. And the girls really loved him. And he said, oh, we're in the West End together, he said, because he still had this West Country sound. We're going to open in the West End. Going to be a smash hit. Well, it was Westbourne Grove. It wasn't exactly the West End. We were in a review called Spotlight at the Rudolph Steiner Theatre on November the 7th, 1947. And we did 3 nights, and the agents came in to watch us. And Benny was awful. He had this terrible spot, which was really embarrassing because he hated being himself. He really hated talking in his own voice. So he used to rock from side to side and talk like that and try to be posh. And he had a red tie, so if a gag died, it could go, oh, thought my tongue was hanging out. Which, as an insurance line, loses something, I think, over the years. And he just happened overnight and came up with such fertile ideas for doing something on television no one had ever done before, split screen, all kinds of notions that he could use that were televisual, that he just left me behind. I mean, we used to have a thing of being rivals on TV. I'd make jokes about him. We could call Benny Hell or Belly Hill or whatever, and he'd say Boob Monkhouse or Bob Monkhouse. But pretty soon we dropped that because he was just going to be so big. I could see he was going to be big. He was carrying me if he did those jokes about me, so he dropped doing it, and I understood. You could never get to know Benny. You could know him, and he was a dear, good friend, and generous and kind in that he would go around his cast with a little plastic bag hanging out oranges and apples to the girls. And and he didn't ask much of life. I mean, the checks used to come in from the office of Richard Stone, and he would put them behind a plaster devil that he kept on the mantelpiece, and when it looked like the plaster devil was going to fall over and break, he'd send the checks in. But otherwise, he didn't even look at them. He didn't care about money at all. He cared about being very thrifty. All his furniture was stuff that he'd been given for opening furniture shops, and he drank plonk. He watched 2 TV sets at the same time, both of which he got free. He used to buy tins of stuff where it was rescued from a dock where the labels had been washed off. He didn't know what it was, but he could get them for a penny each. An old penny, an old 1D, yeah. And then he would open them up, and he didn't know what he was going to find inside. And he would make great meals out of it. He was a good cook. He had a cold water flat in Maida Vale. He had to crawl up 5 floors to get to it. He was extraordinarily parsimonious, but at the same time, he had a sweet, sweet nature, and he would go off during his free time to 2 middle-aged ladies that he knew and clean their homes and do domestic work voluntarily. Now, you don't get stranger than that.